Om Vakaratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada. Om Bhagavate Shri Swami Narayanaya Namaha. Om Shri Lakshmi Narayanaya Namaha. Om Shri Krishnaya Namaha. Shri Radha Krishnaya Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya. Om Namah Shivaya. Sarvamangala Mangalle Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute. Shri Hanumate Namaha. Welcome to Daily Satsang. This is Sachin. We are continuing our contemplation on the question about the Atma. What is the Atma actually? What is the Brahma Tattva? What is the Atma? And how is it to be realized? And what are the steps that need to be taken for this realization to occur? So along these lines, we have been examining various scriptures, and we are specifically examining the Vivek Chudamani of Bhagwan Shri Shankaracharya Ji, who is also known as Adi Jagat Guru Shankaracharya Ji, an incarnation of Bhagwan Shiv. So the interesting point here is that the Vivek Chudamani is a par excellence scripture. Every line of it is golden. Every line of it has profound and infinite depth. And it is up to us, through the grace of the Gurus, grace of all the great teachers, grace of all those who have come before us and who are here now, to open up the intellectual understanding, the emotional bhavana also, to realize the great and ultimate truths that are existing. So along those lines, we have been examining verse number 20 of the Vivek Chudamani. And in this verse, which is very famous, obviously, that Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya Iti Evam Rupaha. So I want to go a little bit further from a different angle today to try to examine this verse. First of all, any word, doesn't matter what the word is a representation of something. It's true in all languages. The only exception to that would be direct sound vibration mantras that are in the Vedic tradition, or maybe in other traditions also. Any sound that directly connects you with the ultimate reality, that could be considered, yes, that is where the word and the actual thing are the same. So when we say the name of Ram, we say Ram, this is a sound. But it's also a word that means that incarnation of Rama, and it has that meaning. So it's a word in many languages, but it's also a sound. So all words are also sounds. But some words are vibrational sounds that are directly connecting with the higher reality that we call mantra. So that point should be clear. Now, the other way to understand mantra is that when you are doing mananam, like if you take verse number 20 and really go repeat it again and again and do mananam of that and think about it and go into it further, and you are in the awakening of the reality behind the words is beginning to happen, that is also another approach to take. So you can actually take any beautiful verse like this one, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. You can take that verse and do a mananam on that, Shravan mananam, and eventually the knowledge gets solidified. This is what we're trying to do here. We're contemplating. It gets so solidified when you read the verse, this like phenomenal depth opens up from inside. So the reality that the Brahman is real, that begins to open up. Now, what is the Brahman? Always that question comes about. What is that actually? I mean, we know objects of the world. We know things about this world and the universe and all. What is the Brahman? What is it referring to? So what it is actually is known, or it is approached when our experience of the phenomenal world is seen as very, very limited, temporary, fleeting. We've talked about that many times. And then in that state, which is called Vairagya, Bhakti is done. So Bhakti, as per Shankaracharya ji, is devotion to Jnana. It's interesting. that you are so interested in probing internally and externally, who am I and what is the world, what is the cause of the world. So the devotional practices of Navada Bhakti are an aid to Jnana in Advaita Vedanta. So interestingly here, the fact is that whatever the Brahma Tattva actually is, its existence, that reality manifests itself to the mind when the mumukshu is prepared for that manifestation. This manifestation of the Brahma Tattva, the Akshara Tattva, Akshara Brahma or Brahma Tattva we can say, it will reveal itself that is the reality when we are actually at the highest levels of the fourfold qualifications, which we have been talking about. That is Nitya, Anitya, Vastu, Viveka. Then it is Amruta Phala Bhoga Viragaha. Then the Shamadhi Shatak Sampattihi. That's the third one. And the fourth one is Mumukshutvam. When these four, as we have mentioned in the previous recordings, previous talks, when these are at the highest stages, and the whole Vivek Chudamani is going to explain these further and further. When we are at the highest stages psychologically, emotionally, intellectually, of actually having all four of these qualifications, then by krupa, by anugraha, by the grace of God, by the grace of great sages, by the krupa drishti of enlightened beings, of Paramatma Sakshat, does the Brahman actually reveal itself. So before even that revelation occurs, in verse number 20, Shankaracharya ji is saying, Vinishayaha, that one is completely convinced inside. 100% conviction, understanding the fourfold qualification, everything is present. Because it is through that the grace is about to descend. The descent of Krupa, the descent of grace. Now, some people will say, why isn't this grace happening to everybody? Actually, it is always happening to everybody. We are just not tuned to that. The Brahma Vidya is a retuning of the mind and senses and body and intellectual power, emotional power. It is a retuning to the frequency of Krupa. It is a retuning to the frequency of Anugraha. Tuning to the frequency of grace that is already present. God doesn't play favorites that, we should have Krupa on some people and not on others. It's not like that. Krupa is always there. But we need to be able to synchronize with that, and that is why the mind and the body, we have Manushya Deha. We said that so many times, that the Manushya Sharira is very rare. So that grace begins to descend on the Mumukshu, and when that grace, and that is not in the Mumukshu's control, as per Vishishtadvaita Vedanta. That is Krupa. See, Gunatitanand Swami, Sajanand Swami, they have said very clearly that God is the one who gives you moksha. Bhagwan and Bhagwan na sant moksha na data je. God is the one who is giving moksha. Somebody has to release the jiva from the prison of Maya. The prison of Maya is three gunas: sattva gun, rajo gun, tamo gun, and all the problems that come with that. We see the mess in the world, the constant rebirth cycle and all that stuff that is going on. That is all within the realm of the bondages of Mahamaya. So to be released from that, to be freed from that, someone has to free you. How can we free ourselves? There's a statement in Swamini Vato, Gunatitanand Swami. He said, if you try to free yourself without Guru and Bhagwan, you will get more bound. People may not agree with this idea, and if you don't agree with it, that's fine. I mean, that's up to you, and we can go into a dialogue on that. It's worth exploring, Because there are people who really believe, no, you can free yourself. You don't need God, you don't need Guru, you don't need scriptures, you don't need anything. You just free yourself. Okay, you can try. See if it works. If it works, okay. If it doesn't work, then you need some help. So the point is, to be free from inside is our goal. But to get to the state of actually realizing meaning even the conviction. What is that conviction? That the Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. I mean, I can read this verse, you can read this verse, so what? What is that? The people have been repeating this verse since Shankaracharya ji came, and even before that probably. This is just reading the verse is not going to help us at all. It's much more. So he's asking us to develop the conviction. Now, how is this conviction developed? So the word conviction, meaning firm conviction, vinishya means firm nishta, firm belief that is so. Now, what is that firm belief? Some people say you're just believing in something fanciful. How do you know that is even there? Well, that's the whole point. The preparation has to be there. And from the preparation, with all the 4 sadhanas and everything in place, the mind gets to a state of conviction. So today I want to explore, to some extent, and we'll continue for the next couple of days, just on this one word, vinishaya. What is conviction? If I say I have a conviction, I am convinced that there is the Brahman, what does that mean actually? So let's put it this way. Let's use a physical, worldly example. I'm sitting here in Newark, Delaware, and let's say I have never seen the Grand Canyon. Assume for a moment. But somebody describes to me there is Grand Canyon in Nevada, beautiful, amazing. It describes very nice. So I say, okay, maybe not. So somebody shows me some pictures, something here, and I say, maybe you created that thing. I'm not 100% convinced. But the more I study and more I learn that other people have seen the Grand Canyon, there's pictures, there's videos, my conviction develops. If I have a friend of mine who has gone there and shown me pictures and his pictures, and he has experienced it, but I have not directly experienced. I'm listening to other people, watching videos, whatever. Somebody's telling me about it. My friend is telling me, a group of people are telling me. So at some point in my mind, I get convinced that Grand Canyon is there. Is it not so? I can be sitting here in Newark, Delaware. I don't know anything about Grand Canyon, but within maybe 2 or 3 days of talking to people and somebody, oh, there's really something like that. Wow, we should go and visit. How beautiful. I have to be convinced that there is such a thing. If I'm not convinced, I will not make any effort to go there. Is that true or not? I have to be convinced internally that there is the Grand Canyon. Then I will either take a plane ticket, or I will take a bus, or I will take a tour bus, or I will drive, or I will do something to say I want to see, I want to experience that. So there has to be desire, ichha. There has to be desire to experience the Grand Canyon. Similarly, this is an analogy, maybe not a perfect one, but a good one, I think. There has to be desire that awakens from the conviction to realize the Brahma Tattva, to realize that Brahman is Satya. Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya Evam Rupaha. So that is the so Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya iti Evam Rupaha. So that conviction is so solid inside, it becomes solidified that it is the case. So I get convinced that Grand Canyon is there. If I have doubts about that, I might be curious, let me go and see, is there really such a thing? But I'll still make some effort. So that's another approach. One may not be 100% convinced, but there is some sense that I want to see. I don't know what is the Brahman. I want to find out. I want to find out for myself, who am I? I want to find out for myself, is there really the Brahman beyond this temporary world, the phenomenal world? Is that the case? So, if I want to find out, and if I want to realize that, then what is needed? Those 4 sadhanas, again Shankaracharya, again he emphasizes this Nitya, Anitya, Vastu, Vivekaha. It is emphasized again in this verse. From 19th verse shown it as a sadhana, he's repeating it again over here. Why? Why is he repeating this again here? Because that firm conviction can only develop. And it cannot develop in any other way until one sees the utter limitations of all of the expressions of Prakriti. And it is only through the direct perception of the limitations of the expressions of Prakriti that one gets to that Vivekaha, that what is Nitya, Anitya, and that is where the Guru Tattva becomes active. And I keep mentioning this. Don't keep the Gurus outside. Bring them inside. This is the biggest mistake people make on spiritual path who have Gurus. They keep them outside. Don't keep them outside. Bring them inside. You know, I'll use a worldly example. Take the Bollywood industry, which we are all familiar with. Hopefully. If you're not, do some research. People who are watching these movies and dances and shows and all those things that are going on, when individuals are watching them with so much interest and so much oneness, all of that recording, it gets naturally absorbed. You get absorbed inside so easily because you have the attraction inside Prakriti. Isn't it so? That same kind of absorption of the state of the Gurus, of the state of Satpurushas, Satgurus, sages, saints who are awakened. We love them, respect them. There is a physical body, but what is inside the physical body? Physical body is there, but the enlightened being is the living Brahman himself or herself or itself. Physical body is a cover only, but what is shining through the physical body? In Swaminarayan Sampradaya, this point is emphasized through every scripture in that Sampradaya and others also. In this particular teachings of Bhagavan Swaminarayan, what you would find is a tremendous emphasis placed on the connection with beings, sages, who are holding God. Rom ni andar Bhagwan ne dharan karela che. In Gujarati we say, in every pore of your being, you're holding the Paramatma, holding your Ishtadevata. You're holding all of the spirituality inside. That's the only place this is to be held. This scripture, for example, Vivek Chudamani, there are so many discussions and so many gurus that have talked about this over the years. Beautiful. That's a blessing. We have so much blessing for thousands of years that we have this extraordinary tradition. But we cannot keep it outside. If we keep it outside, what's the point? It's like my sitting here in Newark, Delaware, watching videos about the Grand Canyon. I can watch videos about the Grand Canyon. I can see pictures about them. I can listen to other people's talks about them. But I have never seen it for myself directly. See, Kabir Das used to say, "Log kehte kagaj ki lekhi, hum kehte nainan ki dekhi." Kabir's quotation is there, very interesting. He said that Kagaj ki lekhi, there's so many things people are repeating again and again and again from the scriptures, from teachings and gurus and traditions. Okay, that's a beginning. It can help. It will help to develop that vinishayas, that state of vinishaya, that state can be developed. Firm conviction. Drad nishta. In Gujarati we say drad nishta. Okay. But Kabir, what he's saying, hum kehte nainan ki dekhi. If Sachin goes to the Grand Canyon, Sachin is directly in touch with the Grand. He doesn't need now any scriptures and videos. I mean any pictures and videos and second-hand information. We still have that second-hand information. We're not discarding it. But when I'm in the Grand, and I actually have gone there 2 times, it is the most extraordinary experience. There's even a helicopter that'll take you to the river. And then you fly through the Grand Canyon through the helicopter, plus you go to the rim, and it is just absolutely mind-boggling. It is so beautiful and it is so amazing. I have memories of that. Now, if I watch a video of it, is the video the same thing as going there? The video gives me, it's a second-hand reflection, second-hand recording, and it's on a two-dimensional screen. How can that compare to the actual experience? That is not the actual experience. It is a recording of the actual experience. Similarly, these scriptures, these verses are a recording of the actual anubhav of Adi Jagat Guru Shankaracharya ji. Vachanamrut is an actual recording of the anubhav of Bhagavan Swaminarayan. Bhagavad Gita is an actual recording of the state of Sri Krishna Bhagavan. It is a recording. We have to move out of the recording into the actual reality. That is what they have taught again and again. The gurus, the sadgurus, the teachers, they don't want their disciples or those who are coming after them, those who are learning from them, they don't want them to be stuck in just the second-hand information. That is exactly what the Upanishads are all about. The Upanishads are teaching us directly, go to the feet of the enlightened masters. So people have taken that to the point where they're just stuck with the personalities of the teachers. They're in love with the gurus. Fine. You can be in love with the form also. Fine. But that is not the beginning. That is not the end. For example, when I say I love Sri Krishna, if I say I love Sri Krishna, I can love the form and have bhajan kirtan. Beautiful. I should do this. It's fine. No problem. But from a tattva point of view, the Bhagavad Gita is the tattva of Sri Krishna Bhagavan. This Vivek Chudamani is the tattva of Adi Shankaracharya ji. Vachanamrut is the tattva of Bhagavan Swaminarayan. That tattva, meaning the actual spiritual substance, reality is what is the actual reality. The form is the beginning. Like we're looking at these words right now. It's a form. In fact, look at the word. He's even used the word form here. Evam rupaha. It's right here in this verse number 20. Brahma satyam jagat mithya iti evam rupaha. See, the word rupaha is used here. That this is a conclusion in the mind. This is a form. You've got some conviction. How beautiful, so how does that develop? It develops by study and knowledge and tradition. For example, take the worship of Sri Krishna Bhagavan. There's a whole long history behind that. I won't go into that today. I have multiple volumes of the history of Sri Krishna. How the worship developed. What is the academics behind it? How many people have researched behind that? It's not an ordinary thing. It would require quite a bit of time for me to explain that. I'll try to do some summary on that in the future at some point, hopefully. But the fact of the matter is Krishna worship didn't happen just like that. It took so many years, hundreds and hundreds of years, for eventually the images of Sri Krishna to come into the temples. And then from there the traditions developed further. So people say, then children are born saying, this is God. This is a form of God. Worship Krishna. But when the child may be convinced or has that conditioning from childhood, this is God. But as the child grows up, begins to understand who is Krishna, what is the life, what is Bhagavatam, gets more and more and more realization as to why Krishna should be worshipped. The worship of a deity is a whole different matter than simply a study of the history and academic study. It's a different matter. So when a person worships, it's like in Vivek Chudamani, Shankaracharya ji is talking about the worship of the Brahman. Worship, the devotion to jnana. Bhagavan Swaminarayan reversed that. He said that the jnana is a support, is a protector of bhakti. See the beautiful combination. How awesome that is. Bahut sundar. It is so beautiful that the jnana is a support to bhakti. Because bhakti is your actual emotional. See, it's like Sajanand Swami and others, the Bhakti Sampradaya Acharyas, they have placed emphasis on protecting the divine emotion. Divya bhav, divya bhavna. If we lose our divine emotion, what we will have in life? Even we might know the scriptures, we might have jnana, we might have everything. We don't have divine emotion. Life becomes niras. It becomes dry and the example that is given. You have 100 dishes of the best, awesome food made fresh, but there's no salt inside. If there's no salt, you're not going to experience the flavor of everything that's there. If you want to experience the flavor of jnana and the nitya anitya vastu viveka, which is vairagya, and of course dharma, which is righteousness, want to experience all that, the ingredient of salt has to be there. Bhakti has to be there. And in Swaminarayan Sampradaya particularly, they have placed so much emphasis from the time of Maharaj until today that bhakti is never, under any circumstances, to be damaged. The moment bhakti becomes secondary, or to the point where there is no more devotion left, this is Swaminarayan Sampradaya point of view. If that happens, there is every possibility of the individualized ego misinterpreting verse number 20 in Vivek Chudamani and seeing this and saying that I am the Brahman, and that ego will get hold of that in the wrong way. To prevent that from happening, maintain bhakti. Maintain bhakti all the time. What is the harm in that? What wrong will come out of that? Nothing. You'll be protected. In fact, jnana is protected by bhakti. Even Shankaracharya ji is saying so. 80% of Shankaracharya ji's literature is bhakti literature. 80%, 20% is Advaita Vedanta. People don't know that many times. 80% of Adi Shankaracharya ji's literature that he wrote as poems and stotras and all is all bhakti literature. 20% is like this Vivek Chudamani and Atma Bodh and all those Advaitic texts. Why? Because bhakti is the foundation for jnana, for in Advaita. Jnana of what? The Nijatmanam Brahmarupam. That is jnana. That I am the Brahman and me are one. But it isn't. But Ramanujacharya and other acharyas afterwards, Bhagavan Swami, he said that jnana, that I and the Brahman are one, is a foundation for the upasana of Paramatma, which we're going to talk about later on. We haven't gotten to that yet. We cannot even get to that until actually we understand this thing. I mean, we can get to it, but I want to really go carefully with it. I don't want to jump over steps. Anyway, it is the most. I'm at a loss of words to even express the phenomenal truths that are in front of us. You know, this life that we have, this life is so precious. Every breath, every moment, the good, healthy functioning of the body, how much grace is in that? You know, when we talk about this Nitya, Anitya, Vastu, Viveka, that should not be misunderstood that, oh, this body is just useless and like that. No. The body is the temple of God. In the Bhagavad Gita says, Sharir is a city of 9 gates. It is a temple. It is to be used in the most fantastic manner to realize the reality. That is why the human body is there. And look at the miracle, the physiology, the neural structures in the brain, the way the eyes work and ears and nose. We just take it for granted. In Swamini Vato, Gunaditanand Swami, he mentioned, we're just taking this for granted. Jeev keval krutagni che. Bhagwane na kaan badu api. Jeev krutagni means what? We're ungrateful. But when we have gratitude, that look at the human body, how much krupa there is, how much extraordinary experience we're getting from the body, and that it's healthy, functioning properly, stable. This is the biggest grace in life. Mind is stable, brain is stable. How many diseases are there? Diseases and disorders. I actually have a file of downloaded. I downloaded this some years back, where there is an extensive list of how many disorders and diseases there are in the human body. If you start going through them, within 1 minute you'll wind up depressed. My God, you don't want to even read that. It is so terrible. The problems that are present within Prakriti are unbelievable. And if we are healthy, stable, we have good food, water, clothing, shelter, and great opportunity to learn the satsang and all, then what more do we want in life? See, this is the big thing. How many people are crippled and sitting in hospitals, and they're troubled in millions of ways? People in poverty and all that. These are the human problems. The solution to these problems is also in these scriptures. We need a complementary approach to work with the human body, human mind, human condition, with the society. all working together for the upliftment of humanity. And until and unless we can come together, Vasudeva Kutumbakam, to do that, all of these ideas in the scriptures will just remain ideas only. That's all that will remain. It'll seem like something interesting, something this, something that, it's not going to have the kind of impact we want. And it begins with each person. If one person even realizes that the Brahman is real, actually, and is in a state of Nitya, Anitya, Vastu, Vivekaha, that becomes a beacon of tremendous divine light for all of humanity. How much humanity grasps from that is the will of God. We don't worry about that. But it is a lit lamp. It is a candle that is lit that can light millions of candles if they come in contact with each other. And that is what satsang is actually all about. It is getting in touch with the lit candle. It is getting in touch with the lit diva, the divo, as you say in Gujarati. Jyot se jyot jagao, Satguru mere antar timira mitao. That is adhyatma. That is a reality. And until we get to that reality, everything else will be simply within the realm of the three gunas of Maya. So we will stop here today and continue tomorrow.